Now, from politics to security matters, we go to Katsina State, where another bloodbath has exposed the dangerous failure of the so-called peace deals with terrorists, as over 20 people were killed on Tuesday in Doma, a community that had signed peace agreements with the criminals. The terrorists reportedly attacked the community in Faskari local government area of the state for nearly 3 hours. The local government chairman, Bala Adu, confirmed the massacre left several injured and over 100 displaced, with homes and vehicles torched. The Katsina state government had planned to release 70 suspected terrorists just weeks ago to sustain peace accords before this deadly attack. Now, this is what happens when governments negotiate with terrorists instead of neutralizing them. You cannot bargain with barbarians. Every failed peace deal emboldens them further. The question is, how many more innocent Nigerians must die before the government of Katsina abandon this deadly charade and deploy overwhelming military force? Meanwhile, reactions have trailed the fresh charges against former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, and his son, Abdulaziz, as they face terrorism-related charges before a federal high court in Abuja. The Department of State Services arraigned Malami and his son on Tuesday. The allegations are explosive. Nigeria's former chief law officer now stands accused of protecting terrorism financiers. The first count alleges Malami knowingly abetted terrorism financing by deliberately refusing to prosecute terrorism financiers whose case files were brought to his office. Counts 2 through 5 charge both father and son with unlawful possession of a firearm and cartridges found in their home in Kebbi. Now, both father and son pled not guilty and were remanded in DSS custody until February 20th. Now, if these allegations prove true, this represents one of the most serious betrayals of public trust in Nigeria's justice system. And I'll take a tweet on X before I come to you. The Hope wrote, "The arraignment of former AG Abubakar Malami and his son for illegal firearms possession is a serious reminder that accountability applies even at the highest levels of power. Allegations involving weapons combined with previous accusations of terrorism financing highlight how privilege and influence can be misused in ways that endanger public safety. Cases like this test the integrity of institutions and underscore the importance of enforcing the law impartially, regardless of status." I mean, I have, read both stories, one from Katsina and the deadly attack that occurred on Tuesday. 20 people were massacred. And now we are hearing that, the DSS has filed this lawsuit against our former chief law officer. And we've been talking about the idea of exposing these terrorism financiers and all of these. I mean, if these charges are true, really, worrying at this point. People have said it's political, but we are seeing this massacre continue to occur in the northern region especially.
We've often said it that if we're going to deal decisively with terrorism, we must deal with those who are funding, who are behind this. We have heard stories around the fact that they come with sophisticated weapons, these bandits, these terrorists. They have cash in foreign currencies in some instances, and that there's some people who are backing them for various interests, including, personal interests based on the resources that are in that area. Now, one of the things that we've also talked about and condemned is this peace deal that some governments have used as a strategy, negotiation with terrorists. And we've said it, and the terrorism asset says Nigeria's policy or Nigeria's stance is that we do not negotiate with terrorists.
Absolutely.
And we have seen that it has failed again and again. And it's only in fact, they should be picked up. Sympathizers to terrorists who come out to make excuses for them or say, oh, this is the reason why somebody is taking on acts of criminality and killing scores of people in these numbers. So what we are asking the Nigerian government to do, hopefully the community members can see, because sometimes they are the ones who opt for these peace deals because they feel that the terrorists or the bandits can protect them more than the government. I hope they can see that it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It has not succeeded.
Absolutely
it has
not.
failed in many
Complete
instances.
failure.
What we should insist on is that the government provides security, especially for people living in these rural areas. Kari local government was known as a hotbed until this, peace deal was until it was done away with. So we must be able to ensure that Nigerians, whether you live in urban areas, in the rural areas, have a sense of being Nigerian because their government provides security for their lives and property. We must continue to insist. We cannot negotiate with terrorists. Awesome. Now, going on to Malami, I said this earlier, that this case is a very interesting one. Number one, because of the personalities involved, the fact that, like the last tweet had said, it's a betrayal of public trust, that the person who ought to have been the number one legal officer in the country is actually accused, allegedly, of abetting terrorist financiers. One of the things I would say is that media trial, yes, Dr. Batia touched on that. Let's be careful so that we don't, the matter is in court. But very importantly, is that if found guilty, may this be a precedent for any other person who is found guilty of this act, and then also that this administration would be serious about going after these financiers. Hopefully they still have the documents, they still have the names.
Yes.
So it's not just about pointing fingers to the past, but what do we do now in the future to ensure that we tackle this and we actually finally show a seriousness to tackling terrorism by going after the big guns, the ones who are actually behind financing.
Well said, Ayo, and those 20 people and their families, a really sad situation. May their souls rest in peace. Meanwhile, American humanitarian aid worker Alex Barber, who has directly rebuilt 35 homes, boreholes, clinics, and churches in Yawata, Benue State, following the deadly attacks by terrorists that claimed over 200 lives in June 2025, has accused Nigerian officials of stealing over 4 billion naira meant for survivors of the massacre. Alex Barber says that the funds donated for the victims' families never reached the families and that survivors are still suffering in camps without toilets, food, housing, or medical care. Speaking to the press, Barber warned that if Yawata is attacked again, the Nigerian government will be held responsible.
If something happens in Yawata after this rebuilding, the government is liable. The blood is on your hands. We've come in good faith, with good heart, to help the people, to rebuild where nobody is helping. But you are responsible to secure your own people. And there's security here now, but we can't see that they leave in 1 month or 2 months. I can't come back and see that Yawata has been burned and killed again. If it happens, you are liable. It is your job to protect them. And so I challenge you, I beg you, do your job. Protect your own people. The U.S. government knows what has been done here. They know the attack. They know that I am here. They know that we have rebuilt Yawata, and they support me. Congressman Riley Moore, he supports what we're doing. He knows. He has the geographical coordinates of Yawata. And we are all monitoring what is happening here. So please, protect your people. Do not let anything happen to Yawata again. Thank you.
Barber has been in Benue State helping to rebuild communities. He bypassed government channels to rebuild directly because he says he doesn't trust giving, the government money. And he has been on ground to supervise these projects so far. I've seen the homes. I've seen what he's done so far. Really commendable.
Commendable. God bless you, Alex. But isn't it a shame to us as a country that it is Alex that is coming to rebuild the homes? Alex at least can get to Yawata. Did President Tinubu get there? Didn't they say because of the floods, he couldn't get there that day after we screamed for him to go to Benue? Oji, the next story, I'm going to give you quick comments, quicker like you've never seen before. My next comment. They said they are picking up Malami that he failed to prosecute terrorists.
Yes.
How many years is this government spent in power now?
2 years.
2.5 years.
2 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
2023
Okay,
to this time.
In May.
May.
Yeah.
Why have they not prosecuted the terrorists? You can see we are not ready.
What terrorists? They've been prosecuting terrorists.
The terrorist financiers. Why have they not prosecuted them? So it's easy to pick Malamina because he didn't prosecute them. But is government not a continuum? Don't they have the dossier?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why have they not prosecuted the terrorist financiers?
Because that's what we've been calling.
Thirdly,
persecute the financiers.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised that they killed people in the area where they did peace? But the question is, what's the difference between the politicians and the bandits?
In Katsina State. Well, all right.
We deceive ourselves too much in this country. When we are ready, we'll move on. I think.